Chosen one, there is something I need to tell you, not because someone asked me to, not because it is convenient or comfortable or even safe to say, but because the moment has come and there are things you deserve to know, things that have been held back from you far too long. So sit with me for a moment. Let the noise of the world fall away. What I am about to share with you is meant for you and only you. You have felt it, haven't you? That persistent, quiet sensation that something about your life is different. Not better, not worse, just different. Like you are standing slightly to the left of where everyone else is standing, seeing things from an angle that no one else seems to share. You have walked into rooms and felt the energy shift. You have had thoughts that seemed too large for your skull, ideas that arrived fully formed like they were handed to you from somewhere you cannot name. You have loved people deeply, perhaps more deeply than they could understand, and you have been hurt by that same capacity for love more times than you care to count. You have questioned yourself. You have doubted the very instincts that, when you followed them, turned out to be exactly right. That is not coincidence, that is not accident, that is design. Now I am not here to flatter you. Flattery is cheap, and you are too perceptive to fall for it. What I am here to do is give you a truth that is both heavier and more liberating than anything flattery could offer. The truth is this: you were not built for an ordinary life. Not because ordinary lives are without value. They are full of value. They are full of beauty and routine and the quiet dignity of simply existing. But that path was never fully available to you, was it? Every time you tried to shrink yourself into a smaller, simpler version of what you thought you were supposed to be, something inside you resisted. Something said no. Not loudly, just firmly. That something is worth listening to. Let us go back. Let us go all the way back to the beginning of you, because that is where this story starts. Think about the child you were. Think about the questions you asked that made adults uncomfortable. Think about how early you understood that the world contained contradictions that no one around you seemed willing to examine. Think about how young you were when you first felt the weight of other people's emotions as if they were your own. You absorbed pain. You absorbed beauty. You absorbed the tension in a room before a single word was spoken. Adults called you sensitive, and they did not always mean it as a compliment. Other children thought you were strange, and you learned, slowly, painfully, to hide the parts of yourself that made people uncomfortable. But here is what no one told you then, and what I am telling you now. The very things you learned to hide are the things that make you extraordinary. The sensitivity that got you labeled as too much is the same sensitivity that allows you to understand people on a level that most cannot access. The questions that made adults shift in their seats were not disruptive, they were visionary. The strangeness that isolated you was not a flaw, it was a fingerprint. It was evidence that you came here carrying something unique, something that did not fit into the standard issue categories that society had prepared. You were chosen, and I need you to understand what that actually means, because it has nothing to do with being special in the way that popular culture means when it uses that word. It does not mean you are better than other people. It does not mean you are above struggle, above failure, above the mundane and exhausting business of being human. Being chosen is not a crown, it is closer to a calling, and callings are rarely comfortable. Think about every person throughout history who looked back on their life and recognized that they had been on a particular path. One that seemed chaotic from the inside but made perfect sense in retrospect. They did not live charmed lives. They lived lives of tremendous difficulty, tremendous doubt, tremendous loss. But they also lived lives of tremendous meaning. They touched things and left marks. They spoke and something shifted. They moved through the world, and the world was not quite the same afterward. That is what you are capable of. And part of the reason you are only now beginning to understand this is that the path toward your purpose is never a straight line. It is a spiral. You keep returning to the same themes, the same questions, the same crossroads, but each time you return, you are higher than you were the last time. You are seeing from a greater altitude. What looked like a dead end 3 years ago is now visible as the very thing that redirected you towards something better. But there is something I need to address directly, because it would be dishonest of me to speak about your calling without speaking about the forces that have worked against it. And I do not mean external forces, though those exist. I mean the internal architecture of resistance that lives inside you and has been your most formidable opponent. I mean the voice that speaks in your own accent, in your own tone, that tells you that you are not ready, that you are not worthy, that the dream is too large, the risk too great, the probability of failure too high. That voice knows you better than any enemy ever could, because it grew up inside you. It watched you be hurt. It watched you try and stumble. It catalogued every moment of rejection and embarrassment and failure, and it built a case a compelling, well-sourced, thoroughly detailed case for why you should stay small, stay safe, stay hidden. That voice is not your enemy, it is trying to protect you. But it is protecting a version of you that no longer exists, a younger, more vulnerable version that needed those walls. The adult you, the you that is reading this right now, those walls are not protection anymore, they are prison. And it is time to walk out. Now here is where I need to be honest with you about something uncomfortable. You have been waiting. Maybe you have dressed the waiting up in reasonable sounding language. You have told yourself you are preparing. You have told yourself you are not ready yet. You have told yourself that the timing is not right, that you need more resources, more knowledge, more confidence, more signs from the universe that the time has come. But the universe has been sending you signs. You have simply been negotiating with them. You have been asking for confirmation that cannot be given in advance of action. You want a guarantee, and there is no such thing. There never has been. The chosen are not given guarantees, they are given clarity. They are given a deep internal knowing that a particular direction is theirs to take, and then they are left to take it without a safety net, without certainty, without a promise that it will work out. The act of moving forward without certainty is not recklessness, it is faith. It is the specific kind of courage that no one can give you and no one can take from you, because it has to be generated from the deepest part of yourself. You have had moments of that courage. Think back. Think about the times in your life when you made a decision that scared you completely and turned out to be exactly right. Think about the leap you took that everyone around you questioned and that changed your life in ways you could not have predicted. That courage is not gone. It has simply been dormant, waiting for you to call on it again. And now I need to tell you about something that has been happening around you that you may not have fully recognized. The people in your life, the ones who matter most, have been watching you. They have been watching you navigate extraordinary difficulty with a grace that you yourself may not have been aware of. They have watched you carry things that would have broken someone else. They have watched you give when you had little to give. They have watched you show up even when no one was watching, even when there was no applause, even when the only witness to your integrity was yourself. And the impact of your presence in their lives is far greater than you know. The words you said that you do not remember saying are the words someone else carries with them as a lifeline. The moment of kindness you offered without thinking twice is the moment someone else points to as the turning point in their own story. You do not know the reach of your own life. No one ever fully does. But I am telling you, it is vast. It extends in directions you cannot see and into futures you will never personally witness. This is not metaphor. This is the literal truth of how human beings influence one another. We are not isolated units. We are nodes in an immense network, and every authentic expression of who you are sends a signal through that network that creates ripples you cannot track or measure, but that are absolutely undeniably real. So when you diminish yourself, when you hide, when you perform a smaller version of yourself because you are afraid of what the full version might cost you, the cost of that is not personal, the cost is collective. The world loses something when you play small, not in a grandiose theatrical way, in a quiet, specific, irreplaceable way. No one else has your particular combination of experience, perception, pain, wisdom, humor, tenderness, and fire. No one. That combination exists once. It exists in you. And every day you do not bring it forward is a day the world goes without something it needs. Now I want to talk to you about pain because your story has contained a great deal of it, and that pain deserves to be addressed honestly, not explained away, not reframed into something comfortable. The things that hurt you actually hurt. The losses were real losses. The betrayals were real betrayals. The grief you carried, and perhaps still carry, is legitimate and deserves to be honored as the profound human experience that it is. But I also want to say this: the pain did something in you. Not because pain is inherently educational. Sometimes pain is just pain, and that needs to be acknowledged. But in your particular case, the pain cracked you open in places where you had been closed, and through those cracks something entered, something that would not have found a way in if you had remained whole and defended and untouched. The compassion you carry for other people who are suffering, that came from your own suffering. The wisdom you have about what actually matters and what is ultimately meaningless, that came from the experiences that stripped away everything that was not essential. The depth of your presence when you are fully with someone, that came from the times when you were alone in the deepest possible sense and learned what it meant to simply exist without distraction or performance. You were not broken by what you went through. You were broken open. And that is an entirely different thing. I need to speak now about the resistance you will face as you move forward, because it would be naive of me to tell you everything is clear ahead without addressing what is going to push back. When you begin to step more fully into who you are and what you are here to do, the world does not always respond with immediate celebration. Sometimes it responds with confusion, sometimes with skepticism, sometimes with the particular cruelty that people reserve for those who remind them of possibilities they have given up on for themselves. When you begin to live more authentically, more ambitiously, more in alignment with the thing that is calling you, some people will feel challenged by that. Not because they wish you harm, but because your expansion holds up a mirror to their own contraction, and mirrors can be uncomfortable. Do not take this personally. Do not interpret it as evidence that you were wrong to move. The people who criticize the dreamer are rarely the ones who build things. The people who question your ambition are rarely the ones who understand your calling, because if they understood it, they would have one of their own. When you are doing the right thing, you will know it from the inside, not from the applause of others, not from the silence of critics, from that quiet internal signal, the one that sounds like resonance, like alignment, like something settling into place. Trust that signal. Now let me tell you about what is coming, not in the sense of prediction. I will not insult your intelligence by pretending certainty about the future, but in the sense of trajectory, based on who you are, based on the direction you are already pointed, based on the momentum that has been quietly building in your life, even in the periods when it felt like nothing was happening. Here is what I see. You are approaching a threshold. You may have already arrived at it without fully recognizing it as such. Thresholds rarely announce themselves. They are rarely dramatic. They look from the inside like an ordinary day, an ordinary decision, an ordinary moment when you choose to say yes to something that frightens you or no to something that has been diminishing you. But that ordinary moment is actually a before and after moment. It is the kind of moment that 10 years from now you will point to and say, that was when things changed. That was when I chose differently. That was when I finally said yes to the thing I had been circling for so long. That threshold is here. And the only question is whether you are going to recognize it. I want to also tell you something about your relationships, because this is an area where the chosen often carry the most confusion and the most unresolved pain. You have loved people who could not love you back in the way you needed. You have given to people who took without awareness of what the giving cost you. You have stayed in connections that diminished you because you believed, on some level, that you did not deserve better, or because your capacity for loyalty overrode your judgment about what was actually serving your growth. And you have also perhaps pushed away people who were genuinely trying to love you, because intimacy requires a vulnerability that your history made dangerous. Here is what I want you to hear. You deserve to be loved with the same intensity, the same attention, the same depth that you bring to loving others. Full stop. That is not an aspiration. That is not something you have to earn. It is what you deserve right now, as you are, with all the complexity and contradiction and unresolved parts that you contain. The person or people who can meet you at that level exist. Some of them may already be in your life. Some of them you have not yet encountered, but they are not fictional. They are not impossible. The love that matches your depth is real and it is findable. And the most important thing you can do to attract it is to stop settling for less. Because every time you settle for less than you deserve in a relationship, you send a message to yourself, deep in the place where your self-concept lives, that less is what you are worth. And that message erodes you slowly in ways that are hard to see until significant damage has already been done. You must be as courageous in choosing who you allow close to you as you are in any other area of your life. Now I want to address something that has been sitting quietly at the center of this entire conversation: purpose. Because everything I have said leads here. Your sensitivity, your pain, your resistance, your relationships, your gifts, your history, all of it is in service of something. All of it is pointing toward a particular contribution that only you can make in the particular way that only you can make it. You may already know what that contribution is. You may have known for a long time but been afraid to claim it, because claiming it means being accountable to it, means having to actually do it, rather than holding it as a beautiful private dream that lives safely in the future and cannot be failed or abandoned because it has not yet been begun. Or you may be in a period of genuine searching, genuinely not yet clear on the shape of the thing you are here to do. Either way, here is what I can tell you. Purpose is not a destination, it is a practice. It is not something you find once and then possess forever. It is something you discover incrementally, through action, through showing up, through following the thread of what feels alive and meaningful and worth the cost. You do not have to see the whole staircase. You have to take the next step, the one right in front of you, the one you already know you need to take. And the reason you know which step that is, because it is the one that scares you most, the one you have been postponing, the conversation you have not had, the work you have not started, the commitment you have not made, the boundary you have not set, the door you have not knocked on. You know what it is. You have known for a while. The information was never the problem. The courage is the only thing standing between you and the next version of your life. There is one more thing I need to tell you, and it is perhaps the most important thing in everything I have said today. You are not alone in this. I do not mean that in a vague, comforting, abstract sense. I mean it concretely, specifically, urgently. There are other people who are carrying the same weight you are carrying, asking the same questions you are asking, feeling the same electricity of potential and the same paralysis of fear. They are all around you. Some of them you have already met and recognized as kindred in a way you could not quite explain. Some of them are waiting to be found. Some of them are waiting for you to show up fully so they can recognize you, so they can find in your authenticity the permission and the mirror they need to step into their own. The chosen are not lone wolves. They are connectors. They are the people who, by living openly and honestly and in full alignment with who they are, create a gravitational field that draws in the others who are meant to be part of something larger. Your work is not just your work. It is the seed of something collective, something that extends beyond you, something that will outlast you and bear fruit in places and times you cannot anticipate. This is why your story matters. This is why your choices matter. This is why getting up tomorrow and choosing the courageous thing rather than the comfortable thing matters, not just for you, but for everyone whose life yours will touch. I know this is a lot to hold. I know that some of what I have said has stirred something in you that is not entirely comfortable, because truth rarely is, and real truth never arrives without calling you towards something more demanding than where you currently are. But I also know that somewhere inside you, underneath whatever skepticism or exhaustion or grief you are carrying, there is a part of you that has been waiting for exactly this. A part of you that already knew all of this and has simply been waiting for someone to say it out loud. Consider it said. Now comes the part where you decide. Not in a dramatic once-and-for-all sense. Life does not actually work in grand declarations made in pivotal moments, even though we like to tell stories that way. Life works in the small decisions made day after day, in the ordinary moments when no one is watching and nothing is guaranteed, and the voice of doubt is speaking clearly and clearly and clearly, and you choose, in spite of all of that, to move forward anyway. That is the work of the chosen. Not spectacle, not certainty, not an absence of fear or doubt or difficulty, just the daily practice of choosing the thing that is alive over the thing that is merely safe, the thing that is true over the thing that is comfortable, the thing that is yours, undeniably, unmistakably, irreducibly yours, over the imitation of a life that was built for someone else's expectations. You have everything you need. You have always had everything you need. The resources, the intelligence, the perception, the strength, they are already in you. They were never somewhere else waiting to be acquired. They have been inside you this entire time, waiting for you to stop looking outward for permission and turn finally and fully toward yourself. This is that moment. This is the moment you have been circling. Not the beginning of something new, because nothing about this is new. This is the continuation of something ancient, something that began the instant you arrived in the world and began asking questions that did not fit neatly into the answers being offered. Something that has been building momentum through every experience, every wound, every triumph, every ordinary Tuesday when nothing seemed to be happening, but something was always, quietly, becoming. You are ready. Not because you feel ready. Readiness is a feeling that rarely precedes action, most often follows it, but because the evidence of your life, the whole accumulated weight and wisdom of everything you have lived through and survived and learned, says that you are. The chosen do not wait to feel worthy. They act, and in the acting discover that they were worthy all along. This is your time. Not someday, not when the circumstances align, not when the fear subsides or the path becomes clear or the guarantee arrives. Now. It has always been now, and it has always been you.